A week or two ago, I made a video reaching out to Jynxzi telling him to use my tool, DraftIQu.com, whenever he goes to draft in the Flock League. Well, the Flock League drafted, as you can see right here, and he didn't use the tool. And to be honest, his team came out pretty rough. So today, what I want to do is I want to use my tool on DraftIQu.com, the tool that I told Jynxzi to use in the first place, and fix his team. We're going to go pick by pick, simulating as if we were picking like we are Jynxzi, and seeing if we can get a better team. So without further ado, let's jump into it. So as you can see on the screen on my site, I went ahead and made basically a my eyes only site so that I can draft as if I'm Jynxzi and get the perfect room. And what this will do is emulate what the other drafters in the room picked. So if they pick something and it's obvious that they wanted that person, it will pick them instead of following the typical draft IQU mock draft simulator. So that way it's more personalized and we can get a realistic expectation of the type of team Jynxzi could have drafted if he had just used the site. So let's go ahead and jump into the room. So as you can see, we have here on the right the draft board. Comparing to right here what we have from the actual Flock League. This is what we'll be working with. So it's the same order, the same picks so far, up to Jynxzi's pick. And this is going to be the first deviation. So at pick 5, Jynxzi picked JSN, which don't get me wrong, JSN should be an absolutely killer wide receiver this year. He should absolutely be great in terms of production and points per game. And I have no worries. I'm not fading JSN by any means. But a player that DraftIQU has above him is Christian McCaffrey. And the big reason why, as you can see over here on the left, is he's a running back. Running backs are going to be way more scarce, especially in a competitive league like this. And so naturally, running backs should be pushed up. But Jynxzi made the mistake of going JSN over a running back whenever one of the best running back options is right in front of us. Christian McCaffrey is going to be in the top 5 offense, according to Vegas, and he should be a home run pick. So the first deviation that we're having from Jynxzi's team, which originally had JSN, we're going to go Christian McCaffrey. So this is going to jump us straight to our next pick. As you can see, the bots went ahead and drafted over here, and it stayed true to the draft as well as it could. Obviously, the person who drafted CMC went ahead and drafted JSN instead. Now it's our pick again. And here the tool is recommending yet another running back. It's a super popular strategy to do, especially if you're in the middle of the draft, where you can draft one of those elite running backs like CMC or Jonathan Taylor in the first. And then whenever the second comes around, you can get the tail end of that next group of running backs like Derrick Henry, Amari Hampton, Kenneth Walker if he gets there. So that's exactly what the tool is recommending here, and I couldn't agree more. I personally like Derrick Henry more than Amari Hampton, but for the sake of the video, we're just going to go with what the tool is recommending. But say you're using this tool, link down below, by the way, and you also like Derrick Henry over Amari Hampton. You can see here on the left, Derrick Henry is the next best option. So if you have a personal bias for Derrick Henry, go ahead and pick him, or you can just input your own rankings, and the site will take that into account as well. For this exercise, I'm not using any of my own rankings or any of my own personal bias as best as I can. That way we can really emulate what it would be like if we were Jynxzi in this scenario. So we're just going to go ahead and draft Amari Hampton, and then we get back to our next pick. Now it's recommending Rashee Rice. And this is going to be a situation where I do step in. I know I just said I'm not going to be taking my own bias into account, but in this scenario, I really believe in Chris Olave. I think Chris Olave will be the best wide receiver in this bunch. But you can see this group of 4 or 5 wide receivers pretty much all the same. So in this instance, we're going to take Chris Olave. Some interesting recommendations would have been Tyler Warren and Drake May, considering Colston Loveland already went off the board. So that tight end position is drying up, but we're kind of going to punt that, and we're gonna get our first receiver off the board with Chris Olave. So now that it's our next pick, I mean, it's pretty much screaming you need a wide receiver, and I couldn't agree more. You got 2 running backs, you need that second wide receiver. So it gives us our options of Tech, Garrett Wilson, Jalen Waddle, Emeka Egbuka. I'm going to go Garrett Wilson here. He's my favorite in this group. He's the second favorite by the site, and we're going to continue pushing forward. So now it's recommending that we maybe fill out more of our starting lineup and take a guy like Aaron Fannin, Sam Laporta. Like I said, that the tight end position in this draft room specifically, for Jynxzi specifically in his situation, was drying up pretty quick. And I think Harold Fannin's a great option. Vegas thinks he's going to be fantastic. I personally love him. And although it might be a bit of a reach in terms of ADP, where his ADP is 70 and we're only in the 5th, the flock league's meant to have some reaches. You got to believe in your guys. You never know what guys are going to do. And in this situation, Jynxzi should trust the tool and go with Harold Fannin. So that's exactly what we're going to do. Circling back, I mean, this couldn't work out better. Jynxzi's a giant Bucks fan, and Bucky Irving is sitting right here in front of us. He'd make a great flex option and really round out the running back room to be one of the strongest in the league. So we're going to go with Bucky Irving here. Now it's recommending Brock Purdy, probably because a lot of QBs have already went much earlier than they typically do in terms of regular home leagues or redraft leagues. People are actually valuing QB here, which is fun. So it's gonna notice that and say like, hey, the market's drying up a little bit. But something to understand is that QB2 probably isn't as much of a priority for these guys in terms of getting the rest of their lineup. A lot of these guys who drafted a quarterback probably aren't drafting another one. So we're gonna hold off on quarterback for now, as well as defense, although the Texans defense, the Rams went right here, and that actually happened in the real draft. So defenses are going to start going, but we're not worried about defenses. They are way more hit and miss. We're going to draft Mike Evans, the third option, the only skill possession player out of quarterback or outside of quarterback. Some other options here would have been Jadarian Price or Christian Watson, but we need that wide receiver 3, and so we're going to be taking Mike Evans. Now, it's recommending Brock Purdy again, and I think that we can wait maybe one more round on Brock Purdy. That's probably who we're going to go with. But I think that we're going to take the top receiver as well, just get more receiver depth. And as expected, Brock Purdy is still there, but we can see some kickers and defenses are really starting to go off the board. But we're going to take Brock Purdy. He should be a great option. I mean, we're getting him in the 9th, and he should have similar points per game to a guy like Caleb Williams, who the fan Zufa took in round 5. So if Jynxzi had done this instead of taking Lamar Jackson in the 3rd like he did in the real draft, he'd probably be much better off because he's able to capitalize on an elite wide receiver instead of taking one of those elite quarterbacks. Whereas you can just wait 6 rounds later and take a guy who, he won't be as good as Lamar. Brock Purdy will, but he will be close to that level, close enough to where the gap is less than the difference between having a guy like Chris Olave and not. So we're going to go ahead and take Brock Purdy here. And so next, the top recommendation, funny enough, is a guy that Jynxzi actually drafted, Jonathan Brooks. And so, I mean, kind of a no-brainer for this running back 4 option off the bench. Could get a huge breakout if True was hurt, and he makes the most of his opportunity. So I don't mind it at all. The site likes it. Jynxzi likes it. We're going to take Jonathan Brooks here. Now it's looking at tight end, which we do have Harold Fannin, and a tight end 2 could be in play. Personally, though, I think I'm going to value the running back here. You never know with injuries. And although I don't personally love Bill, he should be okay to fill in for bye weeks. And so we're going to take Ja'Cory Cross-Demerit. Now it really wants us to go tight end, and I don't disagree. A tight end 2 probably would be a good decision here. But we're going to take a guy with a bit more upside. I like Isaiah Likely. So we're going to go Isaiah Likely for the tight end spot. You can see here there's a ton of QBs here at the Yahoo ADP. And although their ranks are higher than these guys over here on the left, the tool understands that, hey, we already have our starting quarterback. We probably don't need a second one. And so it's not going to make the dumb decision of like shoving quarterback in your face. Luckily, DraftIQu takes that into account in terms of the value of backups. And backup quarterback just isn't all that valuable. So although there's some great quarterbacks left on the board, it's just not valuing them. So if you scroll down through ADP, there's a bunch of tight ends. And it's recommending that we take defense now that we are here in the later rounds, now that we are here in round 12 or 13. And honestly, I agree. But the defense that I want specifically will be probably the Jags, probably the best defense on the board. And this is a kind of person-by-person decision. Like I said, defenses are a bit wishy-washy. The Ravens would probably be another good option. But we're going to go the Jags. They should have a pretty good defense this year. And now it's recommending a kicker. And I agree here as well, considering we are in round 14. So let's go ahead and lock up kicker. Honestly, Harrison Butker, you just hit a 69-yarder in preseason, so should be good. In the real draft, it's worth noting, Jynxzi didn't draft a kicker. He opted for an extra bench spot, and he's going to drop someone and pick up a kicker. We're just going to draft a kicker here, get him out of the way. And honestly, I love Kenneth Gainwell here, and I think that's who I want to draft. So we're going to draft Kenneth Gainwell as well, get that back up to Bucky Irving. I think it makes a lot of sense, especially for Jynxzi, again, Bucks fan. So that will round out the draft. And as you can see, we have the original draft grade going over lineup strength, market timing, roster construction, the league rank, and the general market coverage. And Jynxzi did pretty bad. Like I said, it doesn't take a genius to figure out if you just go look at his team compared to the rest of the teams in the league. One of the weaker ones for sure. The site has him at 11 of 12. I probably have him like 9 or 10, but yeah, it's a little rough for Jynxzi in the real scenario. So I wish he had used the tool because if he had, I mean, it looks like he would be the best team in the league. Lineup strength is significantly better. Market timing's a bit better, but we were reaching a little bit. We're not going to follow the ADP exactly. Roster construction is perfect, which isn't shocking. That's kind of the bread and butter of what DraftIQu optimizes is your roster construction. So makes a lot of sense that roster construction is 20 out of 20. Market coverage stayed the same, but I mean, you can see here the ranks. Sure, would it have been nice to have a better quarterback like Lamar Jackson? Yeah, but this F at quarterback doesn't really move me or move the site for that matter because quarterback is scoring so little of the points in the starting lineup. Yeah, if you have the worst quarterback in the league, you can still easily win it. And how are you going to win it? With this A running back. We went from having Jynxzi in the real draft with the 8th best running back room to now the best, and the best by a good bit. We jumped over 50% in value in terms of the running back position. Wide receiver stayed a D. Yeah, you want to see wide receiver be a little bit better than a D, but with running back being so strong, and then of course tight end also being so strong, this team should not care that wide receiver is weaker here. In terms of trading as well, running back is going to get you a lot farther than receivers. I mean, you can find a guy on the waivers every single week that's going to drop you 10 to 15 points. You just have to kind of know ball in terms and at the wide receiver position, but at the running back position, things get a little harder. And it's a good thing that in this team we went ahead and drafted accordingly and drafted more running backs and receivers, stronger running backs and receivers, and we're really set up at that position. And if a receiver goes down, like a Mike Evans, we can always replace him on the waivers. But this fixed draft got a B plus. You probably can't expect an A in every single draft, especially a draft with. I mean, I'm not going to lie, the people that are in the flock league kind of know what they're doing. So yeah, you're not going to have home run picks every single time. Sometimes you're going to have to take what gets to you. And so a B plus, you definitely take that over an F. Another 200 projected points. Divide that out throughout the weeks. I mean, you're looking at 10 to 20 points a week difference in terms of this team versus his. You can see here our biggest reaches and whatnot in terms of how it got to the Yahoo market timing. And last of all, we can compare beginning with Jynxzi's actual team versus the team that we drafted. So instead of Lamar, we went with Brock Purdy. And I mean, Jynxzi's running backs previously were just so sorry. I like Javonte a lot, more so as an RB2. But if you're going to have him as your RB1, you need a strong option at RB2 for sure, someone near Javonte. And Baishal Tutin is just not that. And Jynxzi drafted him in the 4th round. I mean, that is just brutal. So the running back room's a little laughable in terms of Tutin being the week in and week out starter. So that's a little rough. CMC and Hampton definitely clears. CMC, I mean, has RB1 potential. We've seen him do it a number of times. He's been a league winner several times before. So I don't know how you can see CMC staring at you and say, nah, I'm good. And then Hampton, I mean, poised for a huge year 2 breakout, new offensive coordinator, healthy offensive line. I mean, I don't have to sell you on Hampton. Hampton is just simply a much better running back option than Javonte or Baishal Tutin. So we've improved significantly at running back. Jynxzi's initial receivers, JSN and Drake London, 2 great options. Don't get me wrong, but this might be a hot take. Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson, while surely not projected as many points as JSN and Drake London weekly, I mean, I think they have similar upside. Chris Olave is in a high-powered offense. There's no Jordan Tyson for the beginning of the year. Chris Olave should be a target monster. And I'm not going to say he's going to be better than JSN, but I do think he could be better than Drake London. And then Garrett Wilson, I think, could also be better than Drake London. Kind of a similar situation for Garrett Wilson. Not really a lot of target competition. Teams should be passing a decent amount because they'll probably be down a decent amount. Both of these teams, Atlanta and the Jets, probably can't score touchdowns very well. So, I mean, it's just going to be probably comparable stats in terms of production and volume. The tight end, I mean, a huge upgrade. I like Dallas Goedert. He's fine as a if you punt him tight end. But I mean, Harold Fannin in his rookie year put up 70 catches and 700 yards and was great despite the offense being bad. And so Harold Fannin, we know, is more talented than Dallas Goedert. Sure, he might not get as many touchdowns, but he should be getting significantly more receptions and yards. You go to your flex. I mean, this is a huge upgrade. Bucky Irving, would be a better running back 2 than Baishal Tutin. And we have Bucky Irving in our flex instead of Jonathan Brooks, which, don't get me wrong, we still ended up with Jonathan Brooks, but he's on our bench instead. I mean, that's the huge difference here. And you could argue that Jynxzi would put in Josh Downs or Stephon Diggs, something like that off of his bench. But I mean, those aren't great options either. And so I think that these options on our bench are much better. I mean, we have Mike Evans who could start over Bucky Irving if you're wishy-washy about Bucky. But Mike Evans is on our bench for crying out loud. Like, that's insane. We also have Parker Washington. I mean, seemingly the wide receiver 1 in Jacksonville, so another great bench piece. Jonathan Brooks, again, instead of being in our flex, in our bench. We have Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, fill-in running back. I mean, he's definitely better than Tank Bigsby or Woody Marks or Braylon Allen. Isaiah Likely is a high upside guy at tight end, basically filling in for the bye week. Maybe if Bannon goes down, you're covered. And then Kenneth Gainwell, the handcuff to Bucky Irving, and might just straight up be the receiving back in Tampa, so it could be playable as well. I don't think I need to go over Jynxzi's bench. It's a little rough. Downs and Diggs are fine. Golden, yikes, outside of best ball. Not really looking to get him in the starting lineup ever. Tank Bigsby, need an injury to happen. Woody Marks, you need an injury to happen, and even then, maybe not that good. Braylon Allen, same story as Woody Marks. And then James Conner, I mean, he's not going to be playing in the beginning of the year. I have no idea why James Conner was drafted, but alas, he was. So all in all, that is your difference in terms of Jynxzi's team, what it could have been if he had used the tool. And so too bad he didn't. But all I can recommend is that you yourself watching this before your draft, go to draftiqu.com, make an account, and set up your redraft league now so that you can practice and use it whenever you go to draft. If you're on Sleeper, it's fully integrated. It tracks your picks, pick by pick live in the draft. And so it will automatically do what we did here and recommend the best players for a number of reasons, thinking about roster construction, thinking about market timing, thinking about whether or not they'll be there at your next pick, a ton of things. If you haven't seen my video that I posted last week, go ahead and view that one if you want to know more about how that tool works. But it's very easy to use. Just use it so that you do not end up like Jynxzi, so that you do not end up with an F-graded team, your second worst team in your league, and it's already looking like you need to drop half your bench. Instead, you can end up with a as perfect as possible team given your specific situation. You can input your own rankings. You can do whatever you want with it, but it's there for you to use for absolutely free. So go down in the description and do that before your draft, before it's too late and you end up like the laughing stock, like Jynxzi. So that's all I have for you guys today. I hope you guys have a good one. There'll be more content coming out soon, but I just wanted to go over Jynxzi's team because he missed out on a huge opportunity. But appreciate you guys who made it to the end, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace.